Welcome to our COP29 Climate Wisdom Studio live from Baku, Azerbaijan. The COP29 Climate Change Conference is happening next door, and in our studio we bring together people from civil society, from faith, from policy, from science for a meaningful conversation in the midst of a world in crisis. We aim to care, to inspire, and today it is the fourth day of the climate change conference, and it's just finished, and it's been a very busy day with many events, side events, press conferences. And I am Sonja. Will be your moderator here tonight, and I'm from the Brahma Kumaris, and we have had very busy days, especially in the faith pavilion, with dialogues, with side events. We had interfaith press conference, and we have had conversations in the media center. But tonight, the topic is not faith, it's gender equality and climate change. And with me I have two special guests who have come this Thursday evening. It's raining outside and it's dark, and they made the way 1 hour from the COP all the way here. And I have with me Maureen Goodman, who is the program director from Brahma Kumaris in the UK, and Shreya Ghodawat, youth climate activist from India. Most welcome.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you. And Maureen, you are working in interfaith for many years, and you are doing the programs in the UK, and your mentors, spiritual mentors for all your life has been women.
That's true,
yes. And I know you as a very kind-hearted person. And we'll be happy to hear your views on women here tonight. And Shreya, you are a youth climate activist. And I have a look here, and you are India ambassador for Project Dandelion.
That's right.
And also, She Changes Climate. Can you share about the work She Changes Climate, and what is this project?
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for having me, and thank you for that question. She Changes Climate is a global campaign. It's a global movement where we advocate for more women to be a part of the climate leadership and also the political leadership, because so many times decisions are being made for us without us. They're being made at us without accounting for our voices. So we want women to have a seat at decision-making tables because we bring the solutions. We lead with empathy, we lead with resilience, we lead with nurturing, healing energy. And it's really important that women-led solutions, women-led movements become a part of these solutions. When the COP committee was announced, the COP29 committee was announced, it was just a committee of all men. It was a 28 people committee that was all male. So we campaigned, we sent out an open letter, we collected signatures, and the amount of backlash that they received from us and from women around the world, they included 12 women in the committee after that. So we have overturned that decision.
So you are nationwide in India, or how do you work?
We operate in multiple countries, ambassadors in multiple countries. It was started by two of our founders a couple of years ago, when they first noticed a COP that happened about 4 years ago that also had no women in the committee. So they campaigned, they mobilized on ground, and they organized. And till date, even 4 years later, we face a similar problem where women are just missing from decision-making and leadership positions.
How is it to do this work in India, especially?
It's incredibly challenging because there is an absence of female leadership. I think our systems are inherently patriarchal. And I say that because that same sense of patriarchy that exists in the way we operate is the same sense of patriarchy driving capitalism and also environmental destruction. It's about extraction, it's about greed, it's about control, it's about power. But when you bring in this divine feminine energy, it's about healing, it's about nurturing, it's about giving. So it's incredibly challenging because you're working against the system and you're also trying to create a new one at the same time.
we had another guest in the studio Tuesday night,
Yeah.
and she is a doctor and researcher in technology, in solar technology and renewable energy, and she is from India. She has received several awards for her work, but she talked about the energy field as male energy.
Yeah, absolutely, and I think that's what it is, because women are disproportionately affected by it. But if you see female engineers or women working in the energy space, we're disproportionately not represented in those forums and in those industries.
And Maureen, you have had a lifelong experience in interfaith. And you're also on the board of Alaya Interfaith Institute, and you've been to Faith in Ukraine project. And is there an advantage to be a woman in the interfaith work? And I also know you've been to the you're here now in the climate change conference, but you were in the biodiversity conference in Colombia. Is there an advantage to be a woman in these areas?
Well, thank you for the question, and also thank you for what you shared. I absolutely agree with every word that you said. Well, being a woman, of course I'm going to say there's an advantage being a woman. But actually, I think, as you shared, when we show up to work in any forum, our way of working is a lot more inclusive.
Yes.
And I think that actually helps to engender trust. I think whatever work you're doing, whether it's with religious leaders, whether it's in the climate change arena or the environment arena, let me say, engendering trust is very key. And I also think because as women, we're not, as you actually said, setting out to prove anything or to compete with anyone. And also, we have the ability to listen. And that makes a big difference.
That's powerful.
Where I'm often in a minority in interfaith settings with religious leaders. Sometimes it has its advantage because they want the token woman to go in the front, Okay, fine.
We'll take it.
Exactly, I do take it. But I tend to work more with that quiet presence. And I find that very effective. And, people, energy, you spoke about energy. People sense another energy and they're attracted to it. I don't mean a male-female thing or anything, but I just mean attraction to a more spiritual energy. And I love the whole concept of sacred activism, which is something that I think women can do much more than men can do. Of course, men and women can all do this. It's about the balance within of male and female qualities. But sacred activism, it's not that we sit there quietly in a docile way. No, we have to act, we have to speak out. But sacred activism means it comes from a space of values and a space of love. And so whatever you do has a very different energy and is actually, I've found, much more effective.
So you're talking about these soft qualities and listening, creating trust, silence present. Is it not easy then to take advantage of that loving presence?
What I found is that within that, as long as I'm very sure that I keep my dignity, my self-respect.
Your self-respect.
And then people don't take advantage. If you mentioned about, having faith in yourself or not doubting yourself, this is a very key thing. So that whole thing of self-belief.
Yes.
And not allowing doubts to overtake you and staying strong in that, listening to your heart, and actually then it's difficult for people to take advantage. But also, even if they want to, okay, fine. I'm going to stay in my dignity, and that's going to be more powerful.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
we're talking about advantage. Yesterday, it actually happened to me. There were four men on the panel, and I turned up just to do the report and take some photos. And because I was a woman, I was asked to come on the panel.
Great.
Shreya, you have something launched a podcast called Sustainable Tea with Shreya.
Yeah.
And I smiled when I read it, because the women who led Brahma Kumaris for many years, Dadi Prakashmani, she used to say spirituality tea. Yeah, come and have spirituality tea with me. She used to make everyone laugh, and she had this very loving silence presence, which made everyone feel very comfortable.
But she was
seen
so
and heard.
strong,
Yeah.
so strong inside, wasn't she?
But what happened when you have sustainable tea with Shreya? And how do you bring a kinder world with your tea podcast?
Yeah, I think exactly as you mentioned, I drink a lot of tea, which is, how I split sustainability and sustainable tea, because it's really about coming together and spilling a tea. When you're doing that with a friend, you gossip, you share about whatever is going on. So it's really comfortable, and it's cozy, and it comes from a place of love. So tea was just supposed to be this warm place where we can have conversations. But the idea behind that was to facilitate conversations and to talk about things that no one else was talking about, and to create space for that, not because it sells, but precisely because it's not mainstream. So we wanted to talk about things that were uncomfortable, things
Like,
that were
for
not.
example?
Climate change, animal rights, gender equity. So for there to be an intersectional podcast that sees the connection between all of these movements that are so fragmented and so divisive at the moment, that we're fighting over our approaches and our labels. At the core of all of it is our radical empathy. That is what is driving it. So if we can stop fighting with each other, whether that's gender equality, whether that's sustainability, whether that's the animal justice movement, whether that's economic equity, gender equity, whatever that might be, like all of these movements at the core are driven by the same principles. We want to fight for a fairer, better, more equitable, more just world. So if we could come together, and if we could collaborate, and if we could have the same cohesion that, the big oil and the big gas and the meat and dairy industry, they have that power because they're united. They present a very united front. So if we could learn from those movements, even though what they do is questionable, if we could just draw from that power.
A kind, united front.
Absolutely, because we are fighting for the same thing. So I think if we peel back the layers and realize the radical empathy that exists within all of us, and then drove forward with that force, we would be unstoppable. So that's what I'm trying to create, for us to see that all of these movements are very similar. And there is more, they should be more afraid, the other movements should be more afraid of us coming together. And we should be collaborating a lot more than talking each other down.
So 100%. I'm looking forward to hear some of your podcasts
and
about the radical empathy that exists in all of us.
Yeah, it was really unique because we covered human rights. We talk about climate change. We also talk about gender equity. There are a lot of our segments on plant-based living and animal rights. And people ask me, how is the sustainability? And I'm like, there is no whether that's human liberation or non-human liberation. It's all the same thing.
So about conversation, nowadays I often feel and I experience that a good question is very important. We have many good answers to everything, but a good question nowadays, and especially as AI is coming here, we know how important it is to put the right questions. So I was thinking, what as a woman of spirituality, as a woman in climate change, what is the questions we have to ask ourselves, the most important question? Maureen, what do you think? Also to ask others, of course.
Yes. I think the most important question is, what does my heart say?
What does my heart say?
Yes. And the heart will guide you. Recently we had brought religious leaders together at our retreat centre in the UK, and there was a very good gender balance, I have to say. And one of the leaders said, the mind can justify evil, but the heart cannot.
Wow.
And that really stuck with me. And I think, and I know that question's been asked to me at times. I've asked it of others, but I like to ask it to myself. Because then I feel I can be true to myself, and there can be an alignment with my conscience, with my thoughts, with my words, with my actions. But also in asking that question, I can also ask the question, well, what does God want of me? Also? And that sits in your heart too. And so this alignment and this comfort inside is important, because that gives us a lot of strength. And then we're able to face situations, move into, you know, I used to be very afraid of conflict, or, you know, I would shy away from difficult situations, let somebody else deal with it. Now, in terms of the responsibilities that I have within the Brahma Kumaris and so on, I can't. I have to be there, and I have to help find solutions. And I love to do that in a collaborative way. But I know that it won't work unless I listen to my own heart first.
So what does your heart say here during COP29? You've been here for 4 days now, very active.
Ah, yes. What does my heart say right now? Now, I love this concept of radical empathy and radical compassion.
Absolutely.
Because you can see the decisions that are coming out from the governments. I mean, I don't think I need to spell it all out. We know what's happening, and we know that the vested interests are very strong. But if I have radical empathy or radical compassion, my love for them does not decrease. That's what it means, radical. No matter what, you maintain the good wishes, the love, and the respect, and the determination to make a difference. So if something's radical, it's there in the face of anything that may come as an obstruction towards it. So my heart is saying, keep going, keep going, keep going. And having faith that there's a bigger plan.
Thank you. And this topic about making a difference, Shreya, I read an article about you, and he said that you are a visionary leader, even though you're very young, and you're a shining example of what can be achieved with purpose, passion, and impact aligned. So how can women create more impact? We need to speak loudly, is it?
Yeah, I think it's about stop listening to everyone else except yourself.
Stop listening to everyone.
Your heart, right? It's about no matter what anyone else is saying, it's really about listening to yourself, even if it goes against everything else you've ever been told. Because we've been told, we try to follow some structures, we try to emulate those structures, and we try to assimilate ourselves into structures that are maybe, not meant for us. So it's not about conforming, it's about transforming, it's about disrupting, it's about creating our own structures outside of it. So for me, the biggest way any woman can create an impact is really by reclaiming our own power. And I mean that in, the fullest sense of it. Do it even when you're afraid. Do it, with doubt. Even if our voice is shaky, I think it has so much power to make a difference. So do it with that shaky voice, do it with that fear, do it, with doubt, do it when you don't have the answers. Just lead, but stop asking for permission. Stop trying to fit into a mold that we were not meant to fit into. And I think that's what has helped me, just lead with purpose or passion, even on days that I didn't understand why I was doing this, even on days where I feel like the power structures against us are so formidable. They have a lot more money, they have a lot more resources, they are much more louder. What keeps me going is that I'm here to do this, and how can I be of service to what I'm here for, and to lead with that intention in my heart that there is a bigger plan. And even if the work that I do saves one animal or empowers one person, that's impact enough for me. So it's really about listening to your heart and going after what that voice is trying to tell you. But you don't need to have all the answers. You don't need to be 100 on 100. We doubt ourselves so much that, we wait to be perfect before beginning, but just begin, just leap, and things will fall into place.
A fantastic power talk.
Oh, amazing.
Amazing. This is fantastic.
Way.
Yeah. And we're actually coming towards the end of our conversation. I thought this was an amazing power talk from a young woman. And shall we invite Maureen then to tap into the inner power and do a meditation together with us?
We definitely need that after COP29.
Yes, yes.
4 days. Yeah.
Okay, Maureen, welcome for a short meditation.
Oh, yeah, happy to do that. So let us sit comfortably and quietly together, and yet in our own space. I know what the world around me is doing and saying, but who am I going to listen to? Will I listen to the many confusing voices around me? Or will I listen to my heart? Let me go inside and listen to what my heart is saying. My heart, my conscience, my inner feeling, but it will guide me in a true way. And what drives the heart? It is love. When my heart is filled with love, there's a possibility of healing. There's a possibility of transformation. And when God's love fills our heart, then there is tremendous inner power, inner strength. So let my heart speak, let my heart guide, and together we'll create a future of love. Thank you.
Thank you, Maureen, for a beautiful meditation, and thanks to both of you for a very warm and lovely conversation. And I'm sure our global listeners have enjoyed this conversation. And please stay with us, because in 5 minutes we will have the Gender Equality and Climate Change Part 2. And we will play a short video, and then we'll continue the conversation with another guest. So special thanks to all our patrons in our growing community. Special thanks to the volunteers. And for now, I say thank you and good evening from Baku. And if you want more information, you can see on our webpage. And you can also stay with us and come back for Climate Wisdom every evening until the end of COP. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much. Thank you for doing that.
ब्रह्मा कुमारीज प्रस्तुत करता है एक अनोखा वृक्षारोपण अभियान कल्प तरुह, जिसमें केवल वृक्षारोपण ही नहीं बल्कि मानव के अंदर सुसंस्कारों को भी आरोपित करने का लक्ष्य सम्मिलित है। एक व्यक्ति एक पौधा, इस लक्ष्य के साथ पूरे भारतवर्ष में 40 लाख से भी अधिक पौधे लगाने का लक्ष्य निर्धारित किया गया है। कल्पतरुह मोबाइल ऐप डाउनलोड कीजिए, जिसमें आपको अपने द्वारा लगाए गए पौधे का पंजीकरण करना होगा और इसके जरिए आप अपने पौधे की वृद्धि का भी मूल्यांकन कर सकते हैं। साथ ही प्रतिदिन आप इस ऐप के द्वारा मूल्याधारित सौगातें प्राप्त कर सकते हैं। जब भी हम कोई पौधा लगाते हैं तो केवल वसुंधरा को ही हरा भरा नहीं करते, अपितु हर जीव को जीने की ऊर्जा प्रदान करते हैं।
तो आइए 5 जून से चल रहे इस प्रोजेक्ट की कुछ झलकियां और इनकी कुछ विशेषताओं पर एक नजर डालते हैं। यह प्रोजेक्ट आध्यात्मिकता और टेक्नोलॉजी को पर्यावरण से जोड़ता है। अभी तक इस प्रोजेक्ट में कई गणमान्य व्यक्तियों ने अपनी शुभकामनाएं दी और इसको सराहा भी है। आप सबके सहयोग से अब तक 15 से भी अधिक लाख लोगों ने इसमें सहयोग देकर 15 लाख से भी अधिक वृक्षारोपण किया है। अब 40 लाख का हमारा लक्ष्य दूर नहीं। भारत में सभी राज्यों के अंदर वृक्षारोपण किया गया। अभी तक इस प्रोजेक्ट के अंतर्गत देश के गणमान्य हस्तियों ने अपना सहयोग प्रदान किया और ब्रह्मा कुमारीज के वरिष्ठ भाइयों और बहनों ने भी अपनी ब्लेसिंग्स प्रदान की हैं। इस प्रोजेक्ट के द्वारा देश भर में कई जगहों पर, जिसमें स्कूल्स, कॉलेजेस, कई सारे आध्यात्मिक एवं धार्मिक संस्थान, खेत खलियान, पहाड़, जंगल, कॉरपोरेट जगत के ऑफिसेस, साथ ही साथ पुलिस ऑफिसेस, महिलाओं, बच्चों के द्वारा एवं विश्व के कोने कोने में फैले हुए ब्रह्मा कुमारीज के अनेक सेंटर द्वारा वृक्षारोपण एवं मूल्यों का आरोहण किया गया।
आइए हम सभी मिलकर वृक्षारोपण के साथ साथ मूल्यों का भी रोपण करें और अपने कदम स्वर्णिम संसार की ओर बढ़ाएं।